Put on your stretchy pants, drink some sketchy Brazilian soda, and try not to get too angry because we are continuing our journey into the MCU with The Incredible Hulk on this episode of Blind Spots and Second Thoughts. Hey there, welcome to another episode of Blind Spots and Second Thoughts. I'm Dan.
I'm Heather.
And Heather, today we are continuing your journey into the MCU with the second movie in the franchise, The Neglected Stepchild, The Incredible Hulk.
Oh boy.
So right off the bat, do you want to make a correction and say that you do know who the Incredible Hulk is?
I know who the Incredible Hulk is. I am familiar with the concept of the Incredible Hulk.
Which is?
He is the alter ego of Bruce Banner, and he's big green guy. He bursts out of his clothes and he's a big green guy. Okay. That's the extent of what I know. I'm not trying to claim that I'm an expert by any means, but I may have said in a previous episode that I was unfamiliar with the reference of the Incredible Hulk, and that was misleading. I've heard of the Incredible Hulk.
Gotcha. But you have not seen this movie?
No, I haven't.
Do you know who's in it?
I'm going to say Mark Ruffalo because I do think that he's Bruce Banner / the Incredible Hulk.
So Mark Ruffalo is Bruce Banner in the MCU after this movie.
Okay. See, that's what I wasn't 100% sure of because
he took over after this movie, but was not in this movie.
Then I have no idea.
Any other cast members? Anyone else?
Not a clue.
What do you think happens in this movie?
Oh, I don't know because really... It is funny that I wanted to make a correction on my previous statement, but it just sounded like I'd never even heard of the Incredible Hulk, and that's not true. But literally, I don't know anything else. I don't know why he changes into a big green guy. I don't know his Bruce Banner's backstory or what he's like as a normal guy. I literally know nothing else about this property.
Okay.
So I really couldn't even begin to guess what happens. I think maybe he's going to turn into the big green guy.
Right. I think that's a safe guess.
Yeah. That's the only thing I feel comfortable putting on the record.
No wild guesses.
No, I'm not. You know me. I'm not a wild guesser.
Okay. Released in 2008, just a few months after Iron Man, which was released that May, The Incredible Hulk served as a reboot and a clean break from Ang Lee's 2003 movie Hulk, which starred Eric Bana as Bruce Banner.
Okay.
Although it was originally planned as a sequel.
Did he just get that job because of his name?
Eric Bana?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. Just wondering.
I do enjoy Ang Lee's Hulk and some of the fun literal comic bookness of it all, but it is also a very strangely paced movie and doesn't really feel like a modern superhero movie in any kind of way.
What else did Ang Lee direct?
Sense and Sensibility.
Brokeback Mountain?
Brokeback Mountain.
Okay. Huh. That's an interesting career.
Yeah. This movie, The Incredible Hulk, stars Ed Norton.
Oh, okay. Yes. I think maybe I did know that is he Bruce Banner?
He is.
I think I may have known that in the back of my mind from pop culture osmosis.
Also stars Liv Tyler.
I know her, but I didn't know she was in this.
Tim Roth.
Oh, okay.
William Hurt.
Okay.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Okay.
And Ty Burrell.
Oh, I love him.
This movie takes a lot of inspiration from the original TV show, The Incredible Hulk, which starred Lou Ferrigno as the titular green monster back in the day.
No clue.
I have seen this movie, but I've actually only seen it once. So it'll be interesting for me because I don't really remember much of it either. It'll also be interesting for me to revisit this movie in the context of the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe and how much has changed or been recontextualized. So I'll be going on a little bit of a journey with you.
Exciting.
Any other thoughts before we watch the movie?
I'm interested in this one because, as we talked about on a previous episode, I have seen a smattering of superhero movies over the years, not only Marvel, but I saw Iron Man, I saw the Dark Knight trilogy. I saw Birds of Prey and Black Panther. And I think, what?
It's just the most random group
I know,
of movies.
I don't know. Well, they were shown to me, or I was invited to see them. I remember seeing The Dark Knight in theaters because my friends invited me. And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? There is an element of realism to all of those movies. And I get the sense, I mean, not entirely.
Not Birds of Prey, I wouldn't say.
I guess not. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be the first one that I'm watching where there is this, I'm expecting a legitimate transformation into, a monster. And I feel like that is a little bit different than the ones I've seen before. So I'm just interested to see how I feel about it.
Okay, well, let's find out.
Let me emphasize that what I'm about to share with you is tremendously sensitive both to me personally and the Army. You're aware that we've got an infantry weapons development program. Well, in WW2, they initiated a sub-program for biotech force enhancement.
Yeah, super soldier.
Yes. An oversimplification, but yes. And I dusted it off. Got them doing serious work again, bold work. Across the hall, they're trying to arm you better. We were trying to make you better. Banner's work was very early phase. It wasn't even weapons application. He thought he was working on radiation resistance. I would never have told him what the project really was. But he was so sure of what he was onto that he tested it on himself. And something went very wrong. Or it went very right. As far as I'm concerned, that man's whole body is property of the U.S. Army.
You said he wasn't working on weapons, right?
No.
But you will, won't you? You'll be trying other things.
One serum we developed was very promising.
So why do you run?
He's a scientist. He is not one of us. Blonsky, how old are you? 45?
39.
It takes a toll, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So get out of the trenches. You should be a colonel by now with your record.
Nah, I'm a fighter. I'll be one for as long as I can. Yeah, if I could take what I know now, put it in the body I had 10 years ago, that would be someone I wouldn't want to fight.
I could probably arrange something like that.
So that was The Incredible Hulk.
It was.
First of all, I'm sorry.
Why?
This is the first movie I feel that we've done that is objectively bad. I don't think this is a good movie.
I didn't mind it.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I really don't like this movie very much.
I'm very interested to hear your thoughts.
Really?
Yeah.
I just thought this movie was a mess.
Well, it was kind of messy.
Yeah, it is just a very messy movie. It doesn't feel terribly coherent. I think it suffers from trying to be too many things. It's trying to be an action movie, first and foremost. It is kind of a sequel to the Eric Bana Hulk and also a reboot. It is an homage to, or an homage. Either way, it is a reference to the 1970s TV series, The Incredible Hulk. There's a lot of references to the TV series, and it feels like that's a show that had a lot of nostalgia value for, I think, Generation X. And it feels like there's a lot of influence from that. And it's also trying to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which didn't really exist at that point, but they were trying to lay groundwork and make a little bit of connections there. So it's trying to do all of these things, and I don't think it does any of them well.
I mean, yeah, no, I can see what you're saying.
But you enjoyed it.
I thought it was okay.
You thought it was okay.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I don't know. I didn't have any serious problems with it. I understood the story. You're saying it was incoherent, but...
Well, there's not much of a story,
well,
really.
that's true. That is true.
But you thought it was okay.
Yeah. I didn't love it. I'm not saying it's my favorite movie of all time, but it was an entertaining enough watch.
You were entertained. Okay.
Well, now I'm second guessing myself.
I don't mean to second guess you. There's a reason why I almost always skip this movie when I do MCU rewatches. I mean, it really is. It's kind of the redheaded stepchild of the MCU. They didn't really have an idea of where things were going, and they hadn't planned out very much. Things from this movie, aside from the casting, there are things in this movie that get retconned. In fact, there's even they even made a whole little short film to retcon part of what happens at the end with Tony Stark.
Oh, okay. Well, it's interesting that you say that things were retconned, because I was going to ask if you remembered how you felt about it when you saw it. Because obviously now there have been so many more movies. And so perhaps for you, as someone who has seen the other movies in the MCU, it stands out as being demonstrably worse than the other movies. But for me, who is so unfamiliar with it, again, I wasn't like, this is amazing, but it was kind of just like, this is fine. But maybe that's because I don't know enough about the universe.
I didn't see the movie in theaters when it came out because it got pretty mediocre reviews and I didn't care. I think I had heard about the Tony Stark cameo, which was fun, but I guess I just didn't care enough. And then when I finally did see the movie, it wasn't necessarily an issue of this is a bad MCU movie. I do think it is a bad MCU movie, but also I just don't think it's a very good movie, honestly.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I wasn't really expecting to enjoy the movie at all. So maybe that's why I feel like it wasn't that bad. Because my expectations were really low.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought it was fine.
It was just fine.
It was just fine.
The movie had a very contentious production, including Ed Norton having a very public spat with the producers of the film and threatening to not do publicity.
Oh, is that why he did not return to the role?
That definitely contributed to it. It wasn't the only reason, but yes, Edward Norton is pretty famous for wanting a lot of creative input into movies. My understanding is for American History X, he ghost directed part of the movie.
Oh.
And so he does have a reputation of being a little bit of a creative diva, for lack of a better word. Here's a quote from Ed Norton around this time, and this was the public quote. "Our healthy process of collaboration, which is and should be a private matter, was misrepresented publicly as a dispute seized on by people looking for a good story and has been distorted to such a degree that it risks distracting from the film itself, which Marvel, Universal, and I refuse to let happen. It has always been my firm conviction that films should speak for themselves and that knowing too much about how they are made diminishes the magic of watching them."
That's an interesting philosophy.
Yeah, it's a very diplomatic quote, which I do think is funny because this is a movie that also ends with two giant CGI monsters punching it out in Harlem. So it's funny to read that and realize that they're talking about this movie.
Right.
But yeah, it was a fairly contentious production. I think that also is reflected in the end product. This movie was directed by French director Louis Leterrier, who directed the Transporter films starring Jason Statham, the remake of Clash of the Titans, and the absolutely absurd magician heist movie Now You See Me. So this guy doesn't have the best resume, to be perfectly honest.
No, Now You See Me is not something we've watched.
No, I've seen it, but oh my God, it is a bonkers batshit movie.
Oh, I like bonkers.
But not in a good way, in an infuriating way, in a way that because I actually I love heist movies and I love magician stuff. And so you'd think that it would be great because it's like, hey, it's a heist movie, but they're magicians. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense at all. It's not good. It is not a good movie.
Oh, well, poor director guy.
So the movie opens up with essentially the entire origin story of the Hulk.
Yes.
told in the opening credits with no dialogue.
Yes.
I want to read to you the summary from Wikipedia.
Please.
Because I want to know if this tracked with you, if this made sense. At Culver University in Virginia, General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross meets with Dr. Bruce Banner, the colleague and boyfriend of his daughter Betty, regarding an experiment that Ross claims is meant to make humans immune to gamma radiation. The experiment, part of a World War II era super soldier program that Ross hopes to recreate, fails. The exposure to gamma radiation causes Banner to transform into the Hulk whenever enraged or when his heart rate rises above 200 beats per minute. The Hulk destroys the lab and surrounding area and injures the general, Betty, and others outside. Banner becomes a fugitive from the U.S. military and Ross, who wants to weaponize the Hulk. How much of that was clear?
None of it. No, okay. None of it is a little extreme. It was clear that the experiments were taking place at a university because the newspaper headlines that we see specify that it was at a university. And it was clear that he turned into a Hulk.
Even in the opening credits, because you don't see the Hulk.
Well, no, I guess maybe not. Maybe I just was mentally extrapolating because I knew that
the movie is The Incredible Hulk.
What was going to happen. Yeah, exactly. Here's my summary of the opening credits. Edward Norton is an experiment and Liv Tyler is science. And then something goes awry and the general is mad. And then there's newspapers about it.
That's basically it. The movie really does expect you to know who the Hulk is, and it's good that you do know who the Hulk is.
I do. Contrary to popular belief.
And yeah, it just sort of jumps into it. So it does jump to 5 years later in Brazil with the incident counter, 158 days since last incident.
That's about 5 months.
Bruce Banner is learning to control his anger.
Mm-hmm.
He's hiding out in Brazil and working at a soda factory. He cuts himself and freaks out. He's really worried about Hulk blood getting into the drinks, but shouldn't they just be worried about anyone's blood?
I had the exact same thought. I was like, the Hulk condition aside, the fact that there's blood in that bottle and it's being shipped out is disgusting.
Right. If there's a chance for Hulk blood to get out and infect poor Stan Lee, there's a chance for anyone's blood to get out and infect Stan Lee. So like maybe our shady soda factory in Brazil needs to work on their
they
quality
need to be
assurance.
A lot more careful. I noted Edward Norton's living facilities in Brazil are also very dirty, as they were in Fight Club. I was like, I would like to see a movie where he's not living in a house that's condemned.
He's learning Portuguese and practicing with his coworkers, Hot Girl and Bully.
Yes.
And
the hot girl is named, at least. I think he calls her by name. I think
sure.
Martina, maybe?
I didn't write it down.
Okay, I think it was maybe Martina.
I didn't get attached to her.
Oh, fair enough.
He has the line, "You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry," which is a reference to the famous Hulk line, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry."
I actually didn't realize that was a Hulk line, because I've heard that before. I didn't know that this is what the Hulk property is what that line was from.
Yeah, it was famously featured in the Eric Bana Ang Lee directed Hulk movie, but I believe it actually dates back to the TV series.
Okay. I think your motto would be, "You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry."
Hey.
Well, you get hangry.
Well, all right. That's fair.
I still like you, but
I do get hangry.
you get hangry.
Meanwhile, he is communicating over the internet and trying to get rid of his Hulk cells with the help of a mysterious Mr. Blue. Again, this movie really does not spend any time on exposition whatsoever. It's in medias res, and
it didn't really bother me. I was able to follow the context clues of what was happening, even being so unfamiliar with the property. I was just like, okay, obviously something went wrong in science. And now he's in another country and he's communicating with some mysterious internet person.
I wonder, maybe we should have you talk through the rest of the plot to see what you thought was going on at this point, because I want to know, what your impressions were and what you thought was happening at any given moment.
Well, I have to be honest with you. I did also read the Wikipedia entry on the movie, which cleared up some of the uncertainty that I may have had about any other scenes.
Okay. So there wasn't. I want to know.
No, I felt like there was nothing that I read in the Wikipedia entry that I was like, wait, what? Well, except for the beginning, because you're very right that opening paragraph of the description of the movie and the opening scene, the level of detail on Wikipedia is not coming across on the screen. But as far as the rest of the movie, there was really nothing that happened where I was like, I do not remember that at all. Like, I was able to follow the story well enough.
Okay. I mean, again, there's really not much to the story. It's very, very bare bones.
I did have the one thing that I didn't understand at first was why they were so determined to go after him, because I think it's after they realize that he's in Brazil, after the military, the general Dad, as I have called him throughout my notes. After General Dad has realized that Edward Norton is in Brazil and they go after him, I was thinking, well, we see him in Brazil sciencing, trying to find a cure. And I was like, why not just leave him alone to science for a cure? But then the movie does make clear that they want to weaponize the Hulk. That's not clear in the opening credits, but they do specify it later on. So then I was like, oh, okay. So the movie did answer that question that I had.
So things kick into gear when Stanley opens up the blood soda.
Yes, poor Stanley.
General Ross latches onto this. He is obsessed with finding Banner. So General Dad, as you called him, I like that a lot. It's not really clear at this point why. He sends Emil Blonsky after him, played by Tim Roth.
He's mean.
General Ross, by the way, is played by William Hurt, who I think is always great. And minor spoilers, he does stick around in the MCU. He does show up for the rest of his life. The late William Hurt, of course, he did pass away. But yeah, he did play General Ross in several other films.
He seemed to have somewhat learned the error of his ways by the end of this movie. So I'm not sure if that is an accurate understanding on my part.
Well, anything I could say would be a spoiler.
Right.
But
Okay.
I wouldn't say he necessarily has learned the error of his ways, but he at least knows to leave Hulk alone.
Okay.
For lack of a better word. So he sends Emil Blonsky after the Hulk. They have a big old Black Ops team that invades Brazil, which seems...
I was like, can they just do this? Can the U.S. military just do this?
I mean, you know... They can, whether or not they're allowed to is a whole other issue. But I think it's also interesting or kind of dumb that he doesn't tell Blonsky or the team why they're going after this guy. They're just like, this is a normal guy. We need him alive. Go trank him. And also every other dog in Brazil.
Yes, I guess I didn't realize at first that they didn't know that he was the Hulk. Or a Hulk. Wait, so does he just trank the dog or does he kill the dog?
He does. They tranquilize both dogs.
Okay. Oh, I thought they killed them.
No, all the guns they're using until he hulks out are tranquilizer guns.
Oh, that's such a relief. I was really worried.
Banner escapes from the Black Ops team because his neighbor is Hot Girl from the factory, because of course she is, because there's like 7 people in Brazil.
Totally. It's a very small country.
That leads to a chase scene throughout Brazil, which culminates in the soda factory because they only have so many locations. There's only 3 places in Brazil, too. I did think that this scene did a good job of ratcheting up tension. If nothing else, it was a good chase scene. It felt kinetic. It felt like it was engaging, and you felt a lot of tension leading up to the way that they escalated and the way that he was checking his pulse and trying to stay calm. Although I'm curious, did you understand why he was trying to stay calm and why he was doing all of those exercises?
Well, I assumed that. So he's checking a heart rate monitor or a pulse. What is it? Is it his heart rate? They're the same.
The pulse is heart rate.
Pulse is heart rate. Okay, so he's checking the heart rate monitor on his watch. So I assumed that there was some connection between his heart rate and his turning into a Hulk. I didn't know when it was.
Right. It's very high, too. It's 200 BPM.
Incredibly high.
That's like heart attack. That's like, does
I mean,
your
it's
heart
so
even
high. I was already like, because because it starts to beep, and I assumed that was, it's warning you're approaching
Right.
an unsafe level. And that was at like 178. And I was like, I get to that when I'm like working out hard, like intensive. 200 is insane. And especially when you consider the point where I was like, when they're having sex later and he has to like take a minute to calm down because I'm like, 200 is incredibly high for having sex.
Right.
That's crazy.
like just like have a chill sex session. Don't.
Yeah. I wondered if maybe his baseline heart rate was elevated from
I don't know.
his condition.
I feel like they just picked a round number. They were just like, yeah, let's say it's 200 because it's really hard because they picked a base number and they picked a number that would be hard to get to.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Because I feel like they walked backwards from it, which is generally speaking, the Hulk when he's too angry or when he's
Physical exertion,
something like that, damage, anything like that causes the Hulk to transform. And I feel like they wanted a thing for the chase scene to be like a visual indicator. And so they were like, well, let's do pulse. And then they were like, well, let's pick a number that would be really hard to get to, because if you picked 120, like
it would be constant.
Right.
Somebody would startle him and he would Hulk out.
He runs into creepy bully during the chase scene because, again, there's 7 people in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And that involves them in the chase now. Now Bully and his friends
They're not really in the chase, though. They're more just harassing him while he's trying to continue running away from the military. And I was like, not now, Bully.
Right. You picked a very bad time for this. So they get to the factory and the military guys miss and tranquilize one of Bully's friends, and Banner then finally caves and starts to transform. Mm-hmm. I think that scene was well executed. Again, they do a good job of making the Hulk menacing and ratcheting up the tension in this scene. And then Hulk goes Hulk and starts smashing everything. Mm-hmm. And really, that's it. That's the scene.
That is the scene.
Again, there's not a lot that happens in this movie. So big action scene. That's it.
They found him. He ran away. He turns into the Hulk. They're like, oh, we can't do anything about that.
I feel like Bully and his friends, they made them unlikable early on in the movie, so you don't feel bad when Hulk probably kills them.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of deserved it.
Right.
But Tim Roth is like, I don't know. He doesn't seem as fazed by the Hulk as he should be.
Right. There's this giant
He's just like, you should have
monster.
told me, General Dad.
Then there's the whole conversation where he says, I would have gotten Banner if it weren't for the giant monster.
Oh, yeah.
And General Dad is like, it was Banner. And then Tim Roth is like, you have to explain that statement. And General Dad says, no, I don't. Which, why would you even tell him that?
Yeah.
And then almost immediately, he does explain, and he gives them the whole expositional speech, and he tells them what happened in the opening credits. So it's like, so why did you even tell him, no, I don't? Like, he says, you have to explain that to me. And he's like, no, I don't. And it's like, well, then why? You're just being a dick, General Dad.
Yeah. Yes. Which seems in character for him. But I do feel like the movie was trying to build mystery around things that, to me, were not mysterious.
Right.
Like the fact that Bruce Banner is the Hulk. Like, even that, it seemed kind of like they were trying to be like, ooh, and what's going to happen? And I'm like, well, we know what's going to happen. We know what this movie's called. Like, I feel like that was sort of in line with like, we're not going to explain the deal. It's going to be all half truths and evasiveness because, ooh, it's a mystery.
Banner wakes up from his Hulk episode in the most picturesque forest you could imagine in Guatemala.
In Guatemala. So wait, he ran on foot?
Well, as the Hulk, yeah.
Wow.
Well, he's the Hulk.
He should be in the Olympics.
Well, I feel like that probably wouldn't be fair to the other Olympians.
I don't know that that's in the bylaws.
Who aren't 10-foot tall, green, gamma-radiated monsters.
There's no rule against it. His pants they should be in just complete tatters.
Yeah, well, that's always been a joke about Hulk, about how he manages to keep his pants intact and his thighs. His pants always turn to jorts, but he still manages to keep his crotch covered at all times, or most times.
I like that they try to explain it by showing that he's shopping for stretchy pants. And I was like, all right, well, I would have to go back and look at what his pants look like when he's not the Hulk, because they are not billowing around him like parachute pants. If they still fit when he's the Hulk, they would be billowing.
You can't think about it too hard.
When does he turn back into Bruce Banner? So, like, again, they don't really specify it outright, which is fine, because I understood that he turns into the Hulk when his heart rate hits 200. Mm-hmm. But when does he revert back to his
The short answer is,
form?
I mean, they don't show it in this movie. You don't see it in any movies for a while. The short answer is when he calms down.
Oh, okay.
That's basically it. There's
not a number, a point of return.
Right.
Like there is a point of no return.
There's not something he can necessarily do at this point. So Bruce Banner walks from Guatemala to Mexico as a human, which is a long walk.
Those pants are going to be even bigger.
This scene is definitely a reference to the TV show because they use the theme music from the TV show. That scene where he's walking in Mexico and there's that sad piano music that's like doo 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 doo. That's the Incredible Hulk TV show music. And that was a staple of the TV show. I didn't really watch it. I'm not old enough to have really watched it, but I did understand the formula, which was he more or less traveled to like different places and was on the run, but would have to solve a crime of the week or whatever, and then transform into the Hulk and then have to leave the town. And so like every episode was him leaving wherever he was, and the sad piano music was playing.
That is sad. I feel bad for him.
But that was definitely a reference to the TV show. Meanwhile, while Bruce Banner is walking across Central America, Blonsky and General Dad are having a conversation about exposition, and General Dad is offering Blonsky the super soldier serum, or at least a version of it, to try and make him be able to keep up with the Hulk for the next time they encounter him. They have the conversation where General Dad asks Mr. Orange how old he is.
He says, how old are you, 45?
And he says 39.
Yeah.
And the joke is, he said, like, it's a hard life. But Tim Roth was 47.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
At the time. But man, that is a rough 39.
I know. That's why I was like, I want to know how old he actually is.
He was 47. He says 39.
39.
With a straight face. It was such an odd scene, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't even understand why they, I guess, to say he doesn't have anything else to live for.
Yeah,
he's
I guess.
young, but he's already aged.
Again, the conversation is about him being a soldier and not being promoted and wanting to stay a fighter, I guess. It all feels very perfunctory. It feels like the movie is just trying to get you from beat to beat and action scene to action scene, and everything else is just incidental.
Well, again, by this point in the movie, we still have not gotten specific confirmation that General Dad is looking to weaponize the Hulk disease, which is
I don't even know if he's
gamma
trying to
radiation
weaponize
poisoning, right?
Yeah, well, and I don't even know if he's trying to weaponize the disease so much
or
as
just the
Hulk. Yeah.
Well, I thought he wanted to make more Hulks.
Well, that too.
So that's why I said he wants to weaponize what I'm thinking of as being a disease, because he wants more people to be able to have this power. Mm-hmm. So, and to just talk about the fact that it's gamma poisoning, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what?
Gamma radiation poisoning.
Gamma radiation poisoning. When we did the intro, I said that I didn't know why he turns into the Hulk. And at that time, gun to my head, I would not have been able to say that it was gamma radiation poisoning. But then as soon as they started referencing gamma in the movie, I was like, oh yeah, actually, I do think I've heard that before.
Yeah.
in relation to the Hulk.
I think in the original comic book, because, 1960s, 1970s comics, it's just exposure to gamma rays. Later versions have something like there's something in his blood that helped him out. The Ang Lee version actually had nanomachines in his blood that were constantly repairing him. So the nanomachines plus the gamma radiation.
That's adorable. I'm picture like little helper machines.
Yeah, later versions have always come up with different reasons about the why, about sciencey things. But yeah, ultimately exposure to gamma radiation and anger.
Yeah. But yeah, so at this point, we still don't know that that's what General Dad is wanting to do. So it just seems like, why do you not just leave him alone? He's trying to, because I thought they wanted to capture him because he was dangerous. And I'm like, but he's trying to find a solution to the danger that he poses.
Right.
And if you hadn't chased after him, none of that stuff in Brazil would have happened. So it is really unclear why he is bringing this on himself, the general. But then, yeah, that does get explained later. But when he's trying to talk Tim Roth into taking some kind of special serum, it's like, what is the point of all of this?
So Blonsky takes the super soldier serum and is getting ready to have a showdown with the Hulk. Meanwhile, Bruce Banner walks from Guatemala to Virginia in 17 days.
Mexico? Because you said he walked from Guatemala to Mexico.
We know that he did, but we know that it's been 17 days because of the counter. Yeah. So from Guatemala to Mexico
by way
to
of
Virginia.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Guatemala to Virginia via Mexico.
Correct.
Okay.
In 17 days. I did note, if nothing else, even though it is a mess of a movie, it's very well photographed. It's very pretty.
Yes, I agree.
Except for the CGI sludge at the end, but that's a whole other thing. So Banner has gone back to Virginia to get data that he's missing, that the mysterious Mr. Blue has told him he needs. So he's gone back to the university he used to work with. He peeps on Betty, played by Liv Tyler, meeting with her boyfriend, who is not named in the movie, is he?
No, I don't think he is.
His character is Dr. Leonard Samson, who is a longtime Hulk character in the comics. And I think if they had gone down the route of making more solo Hulk movies, they might have brought back Ty Burrell to play this character again. I'm pretty sure that's why they cast Ty Burrell in this part where he has like 4 lines and gets cuckolded.
Yeah, poor Ty Burrell. I was thinking that Ty Burrell plays the new love interest to the ex-girlfriend of the protagonist in National Treasure 2 as well. So this is a role that he is very comfortable in.
Just stereotyped in that part.
And he's kind of good-natured. I mean, he has a moment here where he's not so good-natured, but for the most part, he's likable. But you're still like, it's obvious that the ex-girlfriend and the protagonist are supposed to be together. So sorry, Ty Burrell.
But they really don't spend any time with his character at all.
No.
We see him from a distance. We have half a scene of him in the pizza place, and then his little conversation with General Dad afterwards, where again he drops a bunch of expository dialogue and lets you know a lot of things that happened off screen. And that's really it.
We find out that he's a psychology professor.
You find out that he's a psychologist. You find out that he's the one who narked on the Hulk being in Virginia. And then you find out that he regrets it and that Betty hates her dad and hasn't talked to her dad in a very long time.
That's the other...
All in that one dialogue.
That's the other quote unquote mystery that I was thinking about before, that she's yelling at the general.
Right.
And then she calls him general and then she says, "Dad, stop." And I was like, was it supposed to be a surprise that that's her dad?
They have the same last name.
They have the same last name. I also wanted to ask, we know, again, somebody who's completely unfamiliar with the backstory of the Hulk, we know that he is science because he's doing science in Brazil. But what kind of scientist is he?
He is a nuclear physicist and also, I believe, molecular biology.
Oh, wow.
So he does a lot of
What
things.
an overachiever.
Essentially, he's like a genius.
Can he still do science when he is the Hulk?
No.
Just take a minute and picture the Hulk with like some beakers in his hands.
At some points in the comic, they've done a lot of stuff with Hulk and the different versions of the Hulk over the decades and decades in comic history. So at some points in the comic, Bruce Banner has managed to meld the Hulk with his own personality. So they call that Smart Hulk, or Professor Hulk sometimes is the nickname. So
love
you do have
that.
the big green guy, but with like glasses and being smart. But no, the Hulk is just a mindless rage
He's sort of
beast.
divorced from his humanity in that form. Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily mindless, but he's very much just pure id, more or less. We've jumped ahead a little bit, but after Banner peeps on Betty meeting with her boyfriend and is a creeper in Virginia, he goes to meet Pizza Man and stays with Pizza Man, whose entire personality is Old Pizza Man.
Yes. But you know what? That's a classic character. I'm always happy to see an old pizza man in a movie.
Old Pizza Man lets him stay with him and also lets him borrow a pizza guy disguise so he can sneak into the university. He has a brief conversation with a overly buff security guard. Did you think that there was a reason for that scene?
With the overly buff security guard?
Yes.
Lou Ferrigno?
Okay, you do know who Lou...
I know who Lou Ferrigno is.
You know who Lou Ferrigno is? How do you know who Lou Ferrigno is?
I have no idea.
So you knew that was Lou Ferrigno. Did you know that Lou Ferrigno played the Incredible Hulk?
No.
Okay, Lou Ferrigno was the green monster in the original TV series. So they basically just painted him green and had him like, because, you know, they couldn't do a big CGI monster. So they just hired a big dude.
I cannot stress enough that my knowledge of pop culture figures and facts is inexplicable.
It really does defy any kind of rhyme or reason. So you knew who Lou Ferrigno was, but you didn't know that he was the Incredible Hulk, but you knew enough to recognize him on sight in a cameo, and you didn't question why Lou Ferrigno is cameoing.
I did
As
question to
a
some
security
extent. I was
guard.
like, that seems just like a sort of bit role for him, but who am I to judge? Maybe he needed to pay the rent. I don't know. I don't know what I thought.
So Banner then breaks into a computer. Two things about this scene stood out to me. First of all, you have Martin Starr eating the floppiest piece of pizza ever.
Yes.
Martin Starr.
Martin Starr and Lou Ferrigno, same level of, oh, hey, to me in this scene.
Martin Starr actually does come back in the MCU later on.
Oh, okay.
And they've confirmed that it is the same character. So he was in undergrad or graduate school and just happened to be there. And then his character then turns up later. So that's just a fun little bit. And then the other thing that stood out is he breaks in using Betty's username and password, but her username is Dr. Elizabeth Ross. Like that's just her with spaces.
That actually, I didn't notice that, but that's ridiculous. That would not be her username.
So he gets the information, or he tries to get the information.
Sorry, even without spaces, just the username Dr. Elizabeth Ross. I've worked at universities for many years. I worked in a science department. Nobody's username was Dr. So-and-so.
Look, it's really important. The IT department really wanted the faculty to be recognized, and it was very important. He does not get the information he needs because it's all been deleted, I guess. The movie is really does just give you about as much as you need to get to the next scene. And it doesn't hold your hand at all, which generally I appreciate in a movie that makes a lot more sense or has a little bit more substance to it, but there's just not anything here. The whole thing was really just an excuse to get him to Virginia to meet up with Betty again and then to have the big showdown. So he goes back to Pizza Place and is talking with Old Man Pizza, and then
You called him Old Pizza Man before, but I really like Old man pizza.
Old man pizza.
Like old man McGillicuddy, but
Right.
his last name is Pizza.
His last name is Pizza. I'm sure the character had a name. Actually, I'm not sure the character
No,
had a
I
name.
do think he
since
had
Ty
a name.
Burrell didn't have a name.
Yeah, no, I think he did have a name because I think the pizza place might actually have been named after him, as is
Right.
tradition. I want to say Sal's, but maybe that's just
I think that sounds right. Sal Pizza.
Sal, yes, Mr. Sal Pizza.
So he goes to see Sal Pizza, and as he's talking to Sal Pizza, then Betty and unnamed boyfriend, unnamed psychology boyfriend barge in, even though he's closed, and he decides,
Please, I need to have some pizza.
so they come in. Old man Pizza calls Betty and Ty Burrell kids, but she was 31 and he was 41.
Oh, he
He's
looks
like,
great, though.
he's like, oh, you kids. Oh, you doctorate level adults.
Yeah.
I did not think that Betty saw Bruce Banner leaving. I just thought she saw a door flapping, but she freaks out and she follows into the kitchen and doesn't see anybody. And I just kept wondering, I'm like, does she do that every time she just sees a door flapping?
She's like,
For the last
"What?"
5 years, anytime like a mystery door opens or something.
I honestly
she
think it's
runs.
funnier to imagine that she's done it her whole life.
Well, I mean, she just keeps going, Bruce? For the last 5 years, she's just been, anytime she sees something out of the corner of her eye.
Bruce is, I don't know, doing something backstage at the pizza place.
Backstage.
I couldn't remember exactly where he was. So he's like in another room.
He's backstage.
Yeah.
He's in the green room.
And I think he's looking for Mr. Sal Pizza, and he comes to the door, the kitchen door, and he opens it. And I thought they just stared at each other.
Oh, I might have missed that. I might have looked away for like a second.
I thought that he fully opens the door, and I think they like look at each other, and then he backs away and closes the door, and then she chases after him.
Okay,
Is what I also
I
could
looked
have
away,
misunderstood.
so to me it just looked like the door was flapping, and then she decided to dramatically chase after him. She does eventually catch up to him. She doesn't see him there, but then she catches up to him on a bridge. My question was, why did this need to be two different scenes? If he hides from her and then she immediately finds him. The only reason they would need to be two different scenes would be so that Ty Burrell doesn't get cuckolded right away. But
yeah. But it's still very quick.
But it turns out that he knows about it anyway. So, because he's the one who narcs on. And in fact, you could have built that in where he sees her freak out and see her boyfriend from 5 years ago. And then that's what leads him to narc on the Hulk. But
because I did feel like this was a little bit unusual I was trying to think of other stories where there's, the protagonist that we're following, that we're supposed to be rooting for, and then they have their long lost love who's now with someone else. And so there's supposed to be tension there, right? Like, what's going to happen? Are they going to, how is he going to win her back?
And no, she just immediately kisses him.
There's no tension there. It's just she never speaks to Ty Burrell again.
Right.
It's just like,
screw you, Doc Samson. Bruce is back. So that's it. And I also just realized at this point, really not much has happened in this movie. And it's already 43 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
There's not really any clear sense of direction or what the...
Well, no, he's trying to find the information to send to Mr. Blue. I think maybe that's not enough, but that's something.
Yeah,
he's trying to find the data so that Mr. Blue can try to find a cure, and General Dad is wanting to make a weapon.
Right, but that doesn't... I don't know. I feel like that's character motivation, but it doesn't really feel like a plot hook, because that's something that if you're looking for like what sets the plot in motion, that's been the plot this whole time. Like, he's been trying to find a cure for 5 years. So why are we watching this happen now?
Yeah, why are we watching this start happen?
Why are we watching this start happen now? I don't know. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't land, but it really did feel like...
well, there was the flower. He finds a flower in Brazil and he tells Mr. Blue about it. And then that's when he sciences.
Wow. You paid so much more attention to this movie than I think anyone working on the movie did.
No, in one of the early scenes when he's still in Brazil, he is IMing with Mr. Blue and he says, I got it. And then he's like, Mr. Blue's like, take a really high dosage. And so he makes some kind of a medicine or a treatment out of the flower, and he takes it, and then I think he tries to turn into the Hulk, and he's able to. So he's like, oh, it didn't work. So maybe he went to Brazil to find this flower, and it took him 5 years to find it, which seems a little weird.
I don't know, 43 minutes into the movie, it still feels like we're in the first act and nothing's really happened. But I don't know. I feel like Liv Tyler's only direction for this movie was, can you breathlessly whisper that line?
My take on Liv Tyler was, she is so sappy and breathy. And it really irritated me, honestly, because
Bruce.
So she immediately is like, see you later, Ty Burrell. I don't care. I'm going back to Bruce.
Right. No conflict whatsoever.
Like, she's just so, she's like wide-eyed and breathless the entire time. And I'm just like, this woman is a scientist. She has a doctorate in cellular biology. Like, could she not be doing something more useful?
No, she's just breathlessly whispering. Well, okay, the one useful thing she does is she stashed the research that had been deleted.
Well,
and so she has the USB drive that has all of the stuff on it. So now that he has the research, he's going to go see Mr. Blue in New York. She offers to walk Bruce Banner to the station, which I think is funny because she has a car.
Well, he likes to walk. We know this.
With the sad piano music playing. I missed, maybe you got this. Why did they go back to the university? Was there even a reason for him to be there? Because he's supposed to be leaving and going to New York, and then all of a sudden they're back at the university, and that's when he clocks.
It's not so she can give him the research?
No, because I think maybe that's they're at the university. They spend the night together and then they go to the university to get the thumb drive. And so and then she's like, well, let me take you. But then the military shows up. So they're at the university. The military shows up. Banner is trying to escape, but he can't. And then he hulks out.
Well, first he swallows the flash drive. Do you think you could swallow a flash drive if you had to?
If I had to, yes.
Seems really uncomfortable.
It would be incredibly uncomfortable. I also wondered...
He didn't even have any water.
But also, wouldn't his Hulk guts just crush the thumb drive? Or would it be safe?
Because I think his guts must expand too, as well as his body.
Dr. Banner swallows the USB thumb drive to keep it safe and then hulks out. And then there's the giant fight with the military, which escalates unnecessarily. I feel like they come at him in waves like a video game, like he's going through video game levels and it's getting harder and harder. I'm like, why didn't you guys just hit him with the sonic cannons in the first place? Because those seemed very effective. They didn't work in the long run, but those were like the most effective. And you've got like infantry shooting regular rifles at him. You know that he's bulletproof. You know that all they do is just make him angrier. Like, you have to assume that worst case scenario, you're just making the big angry rage monster angrier. So maybe don't.
Right. Well, I think they probably just kept increasing the difficulty.
They really
for action movie purposes.
Exactly. It's staged like an action movie where there's no sense or reason to it other than up the stakes, up the stakes, up the stakes. And it doesn't feel like a story anymore. It feels like a movie.
Right.
Or you see the invisible strings of the movie. And I don't know. That's one of the reasons why I really don't like this movie.
A couple things about this scene. The first is, it doesn't seem like Liv Tyler knew that he was a Hulk. She seems surprised when he transforms.
I think that might be bad direction,
and
because she was there when he transformed in the first place.
I'm like, we saw her in the beginning of the movie when the incident happens. Okay, so maybe, because again, she is just saying, Bruce, the whole time. So to me, it sounded a little like, is that really you? But I'm like, this should not be news. You were there, but okay. The other thing is that Tim Roth, this is the first moment where I noticed this as the movie is going on, where it really seemed like he was taking the fact that he did not best Bruce Banner or the Hulk very personally. And I was like, this seems like an odd vendetta considering you didn't even know about this until like 5 minutes ago, 17 days ago. But this is another thing that I think sort of got cleared up for me when I read the Wikipedia article about the movie, because it said that the serum that General Dad convinces him to take makes him start to lose his sanity.
Right.
But that was not clear.
Not at all clear.
No.
You get one scene of him being weird in front of a mirror where his body is morphing a little bit, but that's really it.
Yeah. So I was like, why does this feel like a decades long disagreement between these two that is culminating now?
Because the movie said we're going to have Hulk and Abomination fight, and we just have to get them to that point. And it really, again, it just feels like we're just going from point to point and just hitting your marks and moving on. Hulk has his big showdown with just the worst army guys ever. They keep escalating and failing. Tim Roth walks up to him and just gets absolutely bodied. It was a brutal shot, and the movie, I think, does a good job of saying that he would have died if not for the super soldier serum, but he really does get Looney Tunes kicked into that tree.
And I was like, yeah, woo, Hulk.
Hulk and Betty escape. Hulk is mad at Thunder.
General Dad. Real Thunder.
Yeah, real Thunder.
Oh, yeah, he does get mad at the Thunder. I forgot about that.
I never made that connection. Maybe Hulk is mad because his nickname is Thunderbolt Ross, and that's why he's yelling at the Thunder.
Oh, see, because I forgot.
We're giving this movie way too much credit.
And I forgot that he actually like shook his fist at the sky.
Yeah, no, he's like, rah!
Yeah, and so when you just said that, I remembered that was General Dad's nickname. So that's confusing. I wanted to say that it was really sweet. The Hulk shelters Liv Tyler with his body when
during the army fight.
Yeah, because she like goes in there to help him. I don't know what she's exactly trying to accomplish.
She's trying to get them to not hurt the invulnerable rage monster.
Yeah, not really the best choice on her part,
right.
But she loves him.
Because she is a sad, breathy scientist.
Yeah,
and that is all.
And she's like damseling herself intentionally, which is just not what I like to see. But she does go out.
Hey, at least she has agency in her damseling.
Well, that's true. That actually is a good point.
She put herself in harm's way because she's a stupid scientist.
Feminism means that we have the right to choose, and like
sometimes we can choose to be stupid.
Yeah. Some women choose to be damsels, and that is their right in the 21st century. But she does go out onto the battlefield, and then they're firing something at him, and she's going to get caught in the crossfire.
And
well,
Hulk
not even the crossfire.
Shields her.
And Hulk shields her. It's really sweet. But General Dad, meanwhile, is freaking out because she's about to get hurt. And I was honestly like, you would deserve it if she got hurt, because this is all you're doing. You should have just left him alone in Brazil to look for a cure.
Right. Or try to maybe a little less. Like, they have an entire battalion of army guys out there on a college campus that's not closed.
Oh, true. I totally didn't even think about the fact that they're on the college campus.
They're just shooting everywhere. And the army guys, again, the worst army guys ever.
Is University a private institution? Because I don't know that they're allowed to be there. I thought she did die for a minute when he picks her up and she's all limp.
And he's carrying her off.
I thought maybe she did die, and that's good, I guess. She's not that interesting, but I guess I don't wish her ill.
The magic rainstorm breaks out. Hulk escapes. Ty Burrell has his big expository confrontation with William Hurt. It's so unnatural.
I always wondered why she never talked about you. Now I know. I'm like, you don't really have the moral high ground here because you sold him out. My absolute favorite moment of the scene between Ty Burrell and General Dad is that after Ty Burrell gives his little monologue, his expositional monologue, General Dad walks away and he grumbles to himself, where does she meet these guys? And I was like, so you're comparing a man that turns into a literal monster from gamma radiation to a kind of sanctimonious psych professor.
Standing up to General Ross is standing up to General Ross, no matter whether you are a green rage monster or a sanctimonious unnamed professor. Ed Norton and Liv Tyler are breathlessly on the run.
Yes.
She cuts his hair and she says that she's done it before. And my thought was, why? She's
She's a biology professor.
She's a biology professor, not an esthetician or not
a hairdresser.
Cosmetologist. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of cosmonaut.
She's not a cosmonaut either.
She's not a cosmonaut.
But she's not a cosmetologist. They have the scene where she just takes a picture of him by an old truck with a digital camera that is just the worst product placement. It's so dumb.
I didn't even notice what
It's
was.
so unmotivated, but it's just a little, I think, a Canon ELPH camera, those were fun cameras. I would love if they made those again, but they don't.
Unmotivated is a good way to describe her entire character.
Unmotivated is a good way to describe this movie.
Well, true. But she just, I mean, again, she just seems so helpless, despite the fact that we have reason to believe that she's an intelligent woman who could potentially offer some kind of solution or ideas for how to deal with the situation. But she's just, it's all about that she's in love with him, which that's great. I mean, I'm glad that I don't fault her for that, but it just is so weird. The only moment of actual energy that she shows is when she screams at the cab driver when
right.
They take a cab to, I don't even remember where they're taking the cab to, but he's driving recklessly. And then she's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, this is the most life you've shown so far.
Right. That scene was pretty funny.
Where are they going in
They're
the cab?
going to New York because they
Oh, to meet Mr. Blue.
Yeah, they're going to New York to meet Mr. Blue. Before that part, it turns out that Tim Roth survives the attack and is healing a lot because of the super soldier serum. He is so short next to William Hurt. It is off-putting to see. There's several shots of them standing next to each other. I think they're earlier in the movie, but the movie does not hide their height difference, and Tim Roth looks just microscopic next to William Hurt.
I didn't notice, but maybe that's because
He's like a full foot taller than him.
I'm a short person, so those things, this is just normal to me. That's how I live my life.
It stands out when you see two people in a walk and talk, and one of them is like in the bottom half of the frame.
You say it stands out, but it didn't to me. So, this is about where. This was when they're at the hotel room. Liv Tyler and Edward Norton are at the hotel room. She cuts his hair. They have sex where he gets to almost 200 BPM on his heart rate monitor. That's astronomically high.
Especially because they were just getting started.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I was going to say, has it been 5 years? But he was macking on Hot Girl at the factory. So who knows what their whole situation was. But maybe that's why it had not been more than 5 months. It had been under 5 months that he'd been incident free. This is where I wrote, ooh, look at the internet. You said you knew what that meant, and I don't remember. What does it mean?
I think they were searching for him and they were trying to find the messages that he was writing to Mr. Blue.
Oh,
so they were doing that SHIELD search. They have a big SHIELD logo and doing all of the searching for Mr. Blue.
That I noticed in that scene, now remembering.
And all of the text is flying through and it's very much so. Look at the internet is what you wrote.
Look at the internet. And now I'm remembering, because you are reminding me what was happening in that scene, is that they see the email address that he was using. Did he not know it before? Edward Norton didn't know his email address before?
I don't know.
Because it's his university email address. So he would have been identifiable.
I don't know.
Okay. I was like, they're using aliases, but he's using a school-issued email address. That's in a directory somewhere.
Well, they go to New York City to meet with Mr. Blue, who it turns out is Samuel Stearns, also a Marvel character and a Hulk lore character played by Tim Blake Nelson. I love Tim Blake Nelson.
I do too, but I've never seen him like this. I haven't seen him in a ton of things. I liked him in the things that I've seen, but I've always had the impression of him as, or the characters that I've seen him play before have been maybe a little bit, for lack of a better term, dumb.
Yeah.
And kind of slow talking and just a little like, I don't know, kind of a punchline.
Right. And here he's playing a scientist, a bit of a mad scientist, it turns out.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard him talk as fast as he is in this movie, because I just think of him as being kind of a slow like Southern talker. I don't
Right.
know.
But here he's very fun. They yada, yada, yada over so much of the science stuff, but he thinks that he has a cure for Bruce Banner and is like, well, I'm not really a careful scientist, so let's just do it.
Well,
So-
I have a note about that, which is, I believe exactly what he says is, I'm more curious than careful. And I said, ergo, he is a cat.
So cat scientist Dr. Samuel Stearns,
Yep.
They strap Bruce into a thing and get him ready to do a thing. And it really...
Science.
Yeah, they do a science, but the army has, because they saw the flying internet, the army has figured out where they are. So the army closes in on him right when he's doing a science. He triggers a Hulk transformation, but injects some stuff into Hulk that makes him un-Hulk. And
Yay, science.
and then the army busts in and takes Liv Tyler and Bruce Banner
Takes them where?
to a helicopter.
Oh, right. Okay.
And
I loved Tim Blake, or what's his Stearns? Is his
Yeah,
name?
Samuel Stearns,
He has
Tim
a
Blake
little
Nelson.
adorable little shriek when the army bursts in. He's like, ah!
That's an appropriate reaction.
It is.
I think when you're doing a science and then the army breaks in,
Yeah.
you go, ah. Very shortly after that, Tim Roth, being unstable, I guess, knocks out Army Woman and then tells Tim Blake Nelson to make him into a Hulk, which
The Tims.
why would he think that he can do that?
Well, did he look at the internet? Did he follow the internet trail?
He just assumes that Dr. Stearns can make him into a Hulk.
Did he see all the bags of blood
Maybe, I guess.
when he broke in?
But that doesn't necessarily mean that I can make you into a Hulk. That just means
No, true.
I'm a weird scientist with lots of bags of blood.
That's a very fair point. I also like the line after, I guess it was an army woman that Tim Roth knocked out, and Tim Blake Nelson says, now, why are you always hitting people? And I was like, that's a really fair question. You're getting right to the heart of the matter.
They have their little dialogue where Tim Blake Nelson is like, oh, well, I'm a mad scientist, so I can do a thing, but you have something else in you, so you might be an abomination.
Oh, see, I
That's
didn't.
the name drop.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I looked it up afterward that is the name of the creature that he turns into. I didn't realize that was a reference to that when
It's
he
not
said
really
it.
obvious. Again, it's if you know the comics, it's there for you, but the movie really just does not give a shit if you don't.
I wondered, I wrote, what is his villain name? So Abomination, that's a pretty good villain name, if I'm being honest. It looked like he may have been injected with Stegosaurus blood.
Right. Stegosaurus blood. They have a lot of that laying around.
He has a very spiny back.
Tim Roth transforms into Abomination, freaks out, wrecks the lab, starts wrecking New York City. Meanwhile, the last we see of Dr. Stearns is he has a little bit of Hulk blood dripping into an open wound and his head starting to pulsate and smiling creepily because that character turns into a comic book character called the Leader,
Oh,
who has not been
Leader.
featured in Marvel movies yet, but may return. So that's
Okay.
kind of exciting. So Abomination starts just completely wrecking Harlem. Michael K. Williams just shows up for one shot, which is like,
I didn't even.
I was like, is
missed
that Michael K. Williams? And apparently it's because Edward Norton was a huge fan of The Wire. So Edward
okay.
Norton got Michael K. Williams to show up for one shot. And I don't even think he had any lines, but it was just like, oh, that's Michael K. Williams. Why are you there?
I didn't notice.
The army is 100% unconcerned with civilian casualties in Harlem as they're trying to hunt down Abomination, which is probably a little more realistic than you would want in a
Yeah.
comic book movie. But they are just opening fire with chain guns in the middle of Harlem.
It's at a certain point around here where I thought that maybe General Dad was starting to see the error of his ways, because I thought he at least had the courtesy of looking a little chagrined at the chaos that the Abomination was wreaking.
So the helicopter that has Dr. Breathy and the Hulk in it, while they're playing footsie and taking them to prison, they hear news about the Abomination wrecking everything. It takes all of about 30 seconds of Bruce Banner to convince General Dad that he's the only one who can stop Abomination, which they haven't even really seen him or know what his powers are or anything, but he just has a little speech about, I can't necessarily control the Hulk, but I can throw him and give him direction. So I'm going to do that. And General Dad is like, all right, I guess, because it's the third act climax, so you have to.
Yeah.
So he jumps out of the helicopter and
Goes through the ground.
In human form, but then comes out Hulk.
He would not have survived that.
Well, the Hulk can, so that's...
Yeah, but he was still a human when he crashed through the Earth's crust.
To give you some context, there is a deleted scene from this movie early on, and I think it's actually the incident from 5 months prior before the movie begins. He tried to shoot himself and the Hulk spit the bullet out. So he tried to end his own life, and he can't really hurt.
What is this,
Bruce
Fight Club
Banner.
Part 2?
He did try, but yeah.
He lives in a dirty old house. He has an alter ego, and he tries to shoot himself. I rest my case.
They have their big fight scene. I really hate, we haven't talked about, I hate how the Hulk looks in this movie. Aside from the fact that the brass at the time were very nervous about having... The brass. The studio executives.
I knew who you meant, but I just thought it was a funny way to describe them.
The studio executives were very nervous about having the Hulk look like an actor, because what if Ed Norton doesn't want to do sequels?
Seems unlikely.
Why would you not want to keep doing a movie franchise forever? So they were very nervous. So the Hulk looks absolutely nothing like Ed Norton.
He looks like the Jolly Green Giant.
He doesn't look like Ed Norton. They also made him less green. They made him a lot more of a sort of an earthen tone instead of green. And they give him those weird ripply muscles, which don't look like, I don't know, they don't look realistic, and they don't look like a comic book either. They just look weird.
I didn't really notice, and that's probably because, again, I didn't really have a basis for comparison with what the Hulk could look like. And like, yes, maybe it is unrealistic, but so is the existence of a Hulk.
Well, it's not just that he's unrealistic. I think he's just unpleasant to look at. Just the way there's so many bumps, and it's very, he just I don't like
bumps.
He doesn't look right. They do later on, starting in the Avengers, I feel like they get the Hulk to look right, both to look more comic book accurate, but also just like a more, not necessarily realistic, but at least a more believable version of Hulk.
Does the Hulk look like Mark Ruffalo?
They do. In fact, they made him sign like some crazy contract for 12 movies or something to say, yeah, if we're gonna make the Hulk look like Mark Ruffalo, then we're gonna get Mark Ruffalo contracted for a very long time. So they did. But yeah, he doesn't look anything like Ed Norton. It's just, I don't like the way the Hulk looks. This last part of the movie, it's just a very boring CGI sludge fest. It's 2008 CGI, which is not great. And it's just these big dudes fighting each other in the city. And I was so bored.
I wrote in my notes, fighting is boring.
It's not even fun fighting.
No,
I appreciate
it was really boring.
I appreciate what they were trying to do. I will say, when the Abomination breaks out of NYU, and that scene is really good at building that tension. That scene when they're running, although the army guys are just telling the cop, like, okay, you're driving. Like, that, none of that makes any sense at all. But they do a really good job ratcheting and bringing up the tension. But it's just a very nonsensical scene, and all of the action sequences, you just have big, fast guys punching each other or grabbing things to throw at each other or use as weapons. And it's like, I get what you're going for. Like, oh, he punched a cop car in half and now he's going to use the cop car as boxing gloves, is what you're supposed to think. But really, you're just like, all right, he just picked up another CGI thing and is hitting the other CGI guy with the CGI thing. There's something about the weight doesn't feel quite right because they wanted them to feel fast, but that means that if they're fast, the weight doesn't, the physics of it are off. And so it just doesn't feel, I enjoy action movies. I enjoy comic book movies. I enjoy spectacle, but there's just something about this movie that it doesn't land and it just is boring.
Fair. That's fair. At some point during the fight, the army, I guess, somebody says, get him. And the other person is like, which one? And they said, the one that's not green.
They said, help the green one.
Help the green one. Okay, that's it. And why is Tim Roth, why is the Abomination not green?
Why is anything? I mean, it does help to identify him in a fight.
Well, you know what else would have helped identify him in a fight? His Stegosaurus back.
Right. Shoot the one that's spiny, not bumpy. Abomination is also naked, but fortunately he is a Ken doll. So he doesn't have pants the way the Hulk has pants. So apparently Abomination did not get to keep his gentleman's anatomy, but Hulk does.
Maybe Tim Roth didn't have any.
Tim Roth,
that's why he was so angry.
When he got kicked into a tree, it smashed his junk and his junk didn't grow back.
Yeah.
He does get kicked right in the torso.
That's why he has such a vendetta. This explains everything.
Well, it doesn't work because Hulk eventually does best the Abomination, is about to kill him, but then Dr. Ross breathlessly begs him not to.
She might have asthma. Well, maybe this whole movie is
as a doctor in microbiology, you'd think that she could cure her asthma.
Well, you would think, but maybe this whole movie is just a PSA about the dangers of asthma.
So Hulk then stops trying to kill the Abomination and escapes in a CGI, totally not realistic Harlem at all. It really just looks like generic buildings that he's jumping off of. And then he's gone. Later on, she's looking at the picture she took of him with...
Oh, wait, hold on. Because So he does Hulk smash, which I've heard of.
Oh, yeah.
He says Hulk smash.
Right, which is just... It's sort of a Hulk catchphrase, but I don't know that it necessarily makes sense in the context of this movie.
I mean, I don't know what the context generally is to say whether or not it works, but I was like, oh, I've heard of that.
I also thought there was the scene when Abomination is snarling some line at Hulk and it was overly animated. It really felt like a badly animated video game cutscene. Mm-hmm. So it was just bad.
And then what happens after he Hulk smashes and defeats the Abomination? Because I was getting very tired by the time we ended this movie. I remember the movie, but I wrote in my notes, bye Hulk. I don't remember what he did that made me say that.
That's it. He just leaves.
He just runs off? Does he run off?
No one can stop him. He sees the helicopter shines a spotlight on him for some reason, and then he just hops off.
Okay, so I said bye Hulk.
The army stops shooting at civilians for a minute so he can escape, and that's it. Really, that's more or less the movie. Liv Tyler looks at her product placement camera, and the battery runs out.
She looks so sad.
Like all she had to do was just charge the battery.
There are no chargers in this world. That's what I took away from that moment. She was going to lose that picture forever.
And then there's the shot of Ed Norton trying to focus and control himself again, but his eyes green out and the counter resets right as it does a hard cut, which feels like it would have been a good place to hard cut to the credits, but they take this extra scene, which for pretty much any other Marvel movie would have been a mid-credits or an end-credits scene, but here they just slap it on the end of the movie before the credits. General Dad is at a bar getting drunk.
On some very green beverage.
On a very green beverage.
How thematic.
Which he's also asking for another drink by saying reload, which how do you... Just reload.
I mean, I think because when it cuts to the scene, he says that before you see what's happening. So
right.
I guess you're supposed to assume that he's doing something with a weapon, but it's just a really stupid way of ordering another drink. An unidentifiable drink, because I have never seen a drink that color.
And it doesn't seem like something...
Except maybe it's Mountain Dew?
I don't know, but it's very out of character for General Thunderbolt Ross to be drinking something that green, which is
Yeah.
presumably very sweet as well. You don't think most
No.
drinks that are that color are very sweet. And
Yeah.
that, I don't know. It seems like he's just like a whiskey straight kind of,
Yeah.
or scotch or something.
That was weird. That was weird.
But then we have the cameo where Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark walks in.
Yep. I recognize his voice immediately.
Gives him a little speech and says, I want to talk to you about your Hulk problem, and says, I'm putting together a team. So I feel like that probably would have been an end credit sequence and maybe even was shot to be an end credit sequence, but they were really excited that they got Robert Downey Jr. to show up and they wanted to make sure that everybody saw it. So they were just like, let's just put it here
That
instead
makes
of
sense, actually.
it makes sense, but it really it makes the ending feel even more anticlimactic because you just have this non sequitur of a scene setting up this universe that didn't exist. Later on, you'll find out that it's very out of character almost immediately, because in Iron Man 2, it more or less establishes that it doesn't make any sense. So they even made a collection of short films that came out around this time between the next movie in the series, Iron Man 2, and the Avengers. They had a few short films that fill in some of the details and add a little bit of color to the universe. And one of them explicitly is called The Consultant, and it is more or less retconning this entire scene and trying to explain away why Tony Stark is even talking to General Dad in the first place. And
Well, yeah, I was confused because I was a little confused by this scene because I was like, having just watched Iron Man, and it was the first movie in this new, the MCU. Tony Stark is a good guy.
Right.
And General Dad is a bad guy.
right.
So what the hell?
And also, the movie seems to imply that General Dad can control the Hulk in that scene.
Nobody can control the Hulk, not even the Hulk.
Yeah, and the whole movie is about how General Dad can't actually control the Hulk or get the Hulk under control. So it doesn't really make any sense. The real world answer is they hadn't figured it out. They had an inkling of an idea that maybe if we keep doing this and these movies are successful, maybe we can do an Avengers and maybe we can start putting all of this together. But they didn't have a direction. Let's have Robert Downey Jr. show up and have a little bit of fun with it and get the audience super excited. But they didn't really know what they were doing.
I mean,
so
I was
it
happy
doesn't
to
make
see
any sense.
him. I'm always happy to see him. So I couldn't find fault with the cameo other than it didn't make any sense. But I was still like, hey.
But that is, again, that's another reason why this movie is like the redheaded stepchild of the MCU. The Hulk doesn't look right. The story elements of this don't really factor into anything. Basically, nothing happens. Like the movie begins and ends with the Hulk on the run, and
Man on the run.
I hate that song. I really do hate that song.
Well,
Oh, and the whole thing, the entire point of the movie is he's trying to cure the Hulk, and it does nothing. He reverts one transformation and is able to immediately transform again 30 minutes later.
well, the Wikipedia entry does say that last shot of him when he's about to Hulk out, that he has
Implies that he has a little bit more
that he has
control.
more control. But you don't think that's clear
it-
enough?
It implies, but also it's not really
It's not cured. He's still the Hulk.
sure. And it doesn't, again, in the long run of the MCU, this movie doesn't really make a lot of sense. The movie just takes you from point to point. There's not much plot. And then you have a big, ugly CGI fight at the end. So final thoughts on The Incredible Hulk.
I mean, I still think it was okay. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. It really was bullet points along the way of what was going on. I wasn't super invested in it, but I understood what was happening. We talked about how there's that whole opening scene that is not really explicit, but I feel like I got enough. Like I had enough information to move forward in the movie.
Science goes bad.
Yeah, exactly. I knew that
Angry General.
it's not clear in the opening scene that Liv Tyler is his girlfriend, but then he looks at a newspaper clipping about her all the time. So you're like, okay, that was his girlfriend. Like that. So, they were doing a lot of showing and not telling, but I was following. I don't know. And I like people in the movie. I like Edward Norton. Liv Tyler, I generally like, but I didn't really love her performance in this.
Bruce.
Oh no, it was fine.
Bruce.
That's it. What else
Well.
can I say? I mean, it was mediocre.
It was incredibly, it is the mediocre Hulk.
Yeah.
This movie
yes,
was.
It's not incredible.
It's just the mediocre Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, we got through it, so now we can get to the rest of the Marvel universe, which I am excited about. So
All right.
look forward to that. Until then, I'm Dan.
I'm Heather.
And this has been Blind Spots and Second Thoughts.